Yeah, what are we talking about, boys?
Well, we're doing a little bit of background stuff, get to know a little bit of Ant Evans growing up. Then we'll talk.
Oh, God, no, really? Who's going to care about that? Fucking hell. Even I don't care about that.
Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's silly, but at the end of the day, it's just banter, really, with DangerMouse and LazyBed.
Well, fair ladies and fine gentlemen, welcome once again, and thank you for listening to Just Bleed Radio. Hello, and how are you? I'm one half of your hosting duo. My name is LazyBed, and joining me today is the other half of this terrible twosome, my good friend and co-host, DangerMouse. DM, how we doing, man?
Hey, man, it's all good for me.
Awesome, great. I'm doing great too. I'm happy to be here. And believe me when I say we are very happy to have you here as well. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're right here with us. So, as you may have heard in the introduction, this is the relaunch of JBR's Just Banter, really. And I tell you what, we got ourselves a treat today, gang. So as we begin, feel free to give the video a thumbs up. If you find yourself enjoying the program, become a subscriber to the Just Bleed Radio Network today. The benefits are bountiful and spaces remain available. Get in on the ground floor. Now then, that's all the fine print out of the way. So without further ado, allow me to introduce our special guest on today's edition of Just Banter, really. He's a man who's had a hand in helping to shape multiple aspects of the modern UFC with over 25 years of time spent in the combat industry as a whole. He's a best-selling author, a content creator of the highest caliber, and he's also the snarkiest moderator in many of your favorite YouTube chats. Ladies and gentlemen, get up out of your seats and give a round of applause as we bring in Ant Evans. Ant, my man, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. What an introduction. I owe you a steak dinner or something for that.
Well, maybe we could just do some beers instead. Anyhow, as I just stated, guys, Ant is a man who has worn many a hat within the mixed martial arts and general combat sporting worlds, but he is known most notably for his time spent with the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and rightfully so. This fellow was not only instrumental in the content curation of the UFC Fight Pass and the creation of the UFC Hall of Fame, but he's also worked alongside some of the biggest names in the sport. We'll have ample time to go over that all in a bit, but we've got to start somewhere, so how about we start with the basics? Let's do a bit of banter for the listeners, guys. Now, I would reckon the majority of our audience is familiar with you already, but for the sake of the uninitiated, let's talk backgrounds. So, Ant, I may be uncultured American swine and far from worldly, but I believe I detect a hint of an accent there. From whereabouts do you originate, sir?
Yeah, I'm English. It's weird that you say that the audience should know me. I hope not. I mean, I was supposed to be behind the scenes, and one of my pet peeves during my 15 years of the UFC were people who were staff who just, lost their minds when there was a spotlight anywhere near them, and were tweeting pictures and fighters and stuff. So if people do know me, I guess I was a little bit more egotistical than I thought I was being during the time. But yeah, I'm from England. I started working for the UFC when they opened up the London office in 2007. And then 2011, they were like, "Hey, we need help in America. Do you want to move to America?" I'm like, you know what? I just dumped my fiance, just sold my house, kind of wondering what if I should move to London or not. And I had given a choice between London, where I'd lived before, and Las Vegas. I'd say, you know what? I'll move to Las Vegas. Sounds like an adventure. And here I remain.
That was gonna be a follow-up. I was gonna ask, you still in Vegas?
Yeah, still in Vegas.
If we can just dive in, whereabouts in England are you from, Ant? Because I was trying to place your accent, but the first time I heard you, I was listening to you at 1.25, and I thought you sounded really kind of like Geordie-ish, well, Durham-ish way. But now, once I heard you at normal speed, I think you're, I can't place it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, no one can, including me. I mean, whenever I open my mouth now, I have no idea what I'm going to sound like. I'm like this horrible mix of American and Northern English. So I'm from Newcastle under Lyme in Staffordshire. But things when you move to England, like you just little, like it's like I know. It's like I wanted to say, like, guys, I know you can understand me. But why are you pretending you don't? But like you, just driving through a Starbucks became this ordeal, And eventually, like you try and order like I don't know, a cappuccino, like nothing fancy, and they go what, even water. Water, I have to say water. I mean, there's no D in water. It's WATER. No D, much less 2 or 3 of them. It's not water. It's water. But you kind of have to modify your accent to make sense. And I kind of did it. And it's not the kind of thing you can consciously turn off. So I have this horrible mid-Atlantic mix that I sound like I'm from a million places and also nowhere. So that's why you probably couldn't place it.
Okay.
I know one thing. I'm just glad that neither one of you is a Scouser, because I would be in trouble here. All right. Well, so you said 2011 you moved stateside?
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed your time here? Obviously, you've stayed all this time.
Yeah. Well, I've got a kid who's, he's English in heart, but he was born here, so I won't be leaving anytime soon.
All right, that makes sense. Oh, actually, that could lead into the next question. DangerMouse, you got anything?
Oh yeah, sorry. Your own family, is that big or small? Have you got any siblings? Any family at all back home?
Yeah. I mean, all my own family's back home, but I got the opportunity to work for the UFC. Working in the UFC, it was great working on the London cards and Birmingham cards, Manchester cards, and really being there with the the rise of Michael Bisping, begging Joe Silva to sign Dan Hardy, but that was all great. I'm really proud of the work we did there. But you get an opportunity to come and work on massive cards, across America, and working with like Pete Chuck Liddell, Rampage, Forrest Griffin, George St. Pierre, and you don't say no when you've got a family back home, siblings back home or not. So that's the decision I made. Which I think everyone listening to the show would go, yeah, no, I'd ditch my my mum and dad and my brother too and move to the States.
Sayonara.
Yeah, I can go hang out with Rampage Jackson in strip clubs. What am I doing? It's not even a choice.
What was that like for them? Was your family, like, for the most part, understanding of your move over to the States?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's take it back then. Let's take it all the way back to the days of your youth. What kind of kid was a young Ant Evans? Was he rambunctious, cantankerous? Was he quiet, shy? Like, what kind of a youth were you?
Probably a bit of both. Definitely got a mix of being kind of quiet and really loud. I always loved the combat sport. Always my dad got me into boxing. Through the Rocky movies. When my cousin came over one summer with a VHS, which for anyone under the age of 30 actually predates DVDs. It's a tape that you had to rewind before you watched it. And it was of UFC 2. And we started watching. I was thinking like it was just like an import from America, like realistic looking pro wrestling, like cage matches. And what it was instead was a real fights. And we were like 2 fights in, and I'm like, hey, cuz, I think this is real. I think they're fighting. He goes, yeah, I think you're right. I was like, well, this is 2. They must have done at least one more. Go get that. So we went back that night. And we got from the video store, and we watched UFC 2 and 1 the same night. And then we asked, like, hey, where's UFC 3? Like, yeah, there's no such thing. And then what I actually did is, this is how old I am, in the classifieds, with no internet, in the classifieds of an MMA, black belt magazine, not even MMA magazine, no such thing. We put an ad in saying, if you live in America, and you can tape as UFC 3, 4, whatever, and send it over. We'll pay you. And then it arrives in the mail, and it's completely the wrong size and shape to a British base VHS. So what we did is we had a mate who worked at the local university, and they had access to like all this equipment, and they had an American VCR. So we would literally have to take the VCR up to the university, sit there. It wasn't like downloading it. They would literally have to play the whole 3-hour tape and record it on a British one. Then we'd finally be able to watch UFC 3 and 4.
That's fucking dedication.
What year was that? Would that have been, Anne?
This is 1994.
That's the same year I watched it on VHS as well. So
yeah, 1994, 1995. Yeah.
From Virgin Megastore, possibly.
Probably Virgin Megastore. Yeah. Then they started getting released, but it's only a few. It was few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
But it was easier. It was easier to get them sent over tape traders, and then we discovered that there was a whole subculture of people, and basically what they did as a side hustle was take HBO boxing, Showtime boxing, and then convert it to UK and then sell it to people in the UK. And these guys existed until pretty recently.
Yeah,
like 10, 15 years ago, and yeah, I know. I used to get tapes from boxing from a guy in Ipswich, and he was a cop, and he retired as a cop, took early retirement because he was making so much money doing this bullshit. Crazy.
Yeah, I remember the tape trade days used to be a big thing, even in like indie wrestling and pro wrestling. You used to
plenty of them. Yeah, because they were just never going to appear on British TV, and there wasn't a big enough audience to take up space in like you say Virgin Megastore. So what do they do? It's
But there's still obviously was an audience for it and a demand for it, just not enough to like you said, sustain that big kind of box store effect.
Yeah.
If I can just quickly jump in, you were into journalism at the first thing, and you've said you were at times quite quiet. I'm guessing you were into reading, so possibly a touch introverted. But what got you into writing?
I was like anything. If you're good at something, you have a little bit of natural talent at something, you kind of pursue that. I can't kick a football from one end of a room to the other with guaranteeing the direction. To this day, I can't. It's embarrassing. My American son is better at soccer than I am. It's humiliating. But I what I was good at was writing, and like a lot of people, I had a teacher. Her name was Miss Thompson, and she probably no longer with us, but she was really encouraging. And I didn't actually think that was going to be something I did, because I got a job, and it was for £12,000 a year, £12,000 a year in 1999, I think it was, writing for the Sheffield Star.
Oh my God! That's where I'm from. I was born in Sheffield.
Yeah. So I lived in took a little of student accommodation basically, because students had more money than me, which was humbling. But I was like, how do people literally don't have a job have more money than me? But anyway, I took this job, and I got fired within a month from it. I was the only guy on the desk, and a nightclub called the Lead Mill. I'm not sure if the Lead Mill's there anymore, but it caught fire. Caught fire. No one was on. No one was there. No one died. No one got hurt. Just it got caught fire. And I was a big pro wrestling fan at the time, and there was a pro wrestler going by this name. So I wrote the article up, and it appeared in like page 7 or something. And I put Disco Inferno as the title. Well, no one apparently thought that was funny other than me. And this grizzly old git, I can't even remember his name, Grimbley or something, had me in his office and was like saying how serious this was. I'm like, all right, what's a better headline? And it's like, nightclub catches fire. I'm like, oh, that's exciting. And I just wasn't having it. Like for the no money, I'm not taking this shit. So he was like, you take, do you want this job or not? I'm like, honestly, for the money you paid me, I can take it or leave it. I can take it or leave it. He was, all right, we'll leave it. I was like, okay, cool. And I left. So I didn't think that was going to be for me. But then, fortunately, the internet boom happened. I started writing various websites covering boxing, which was, as much fun as I had with the Disco Inferno story, covering local court cases and you know, town fates and various other tiny stories that are happening around Sheffield. That wasn't exactly, wasn't the life I envisioned for myself. So I was happy to be able to cover boxing, and actually make a living from it, at a really pretty young age, early 20s.
By the way, the lead mill closed last month, and
it closed when?
Last month.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, after 45 years.
Oh, wow, that's sad. That was a place, mate. That was a place.
Yeah, it's moving to a new venue apparently, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that establishment, but I do know Disco Inferno. So Disco Fever, baby, Disco Fever.
Disco Fever forever.
All right. Well, this actually is a good segue into my next question, and it's along the lines of jobs, pre-UFC jobs, of course. Well, I guess this could be post. Since working with the UFC or after, what's the wackiest content you were ever paid to create or oversee online content?
Oh, okay. I wish I had a really fun anecdote, but I don't think it's like most of the clients I have now they're all in the combat sports space. So they're MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu, pro wrestling. I have the most lucrative one right now is US politics, which just does gangbusters numbers. I mean, I hate it. I mean, I wish we could all go back to the days when people thought about, elections and politics like once every 4 or 5 years. And those were better days. Those were better days, especially living in the States where everyone's at each other's throats constantly. Like it's the most vicious football team fight ever between which set of, 60, 70, 8-year-old bastards you support. It's just the most creepy, bizarre, weird thing. Like I love living in this country, even now. But it's the creepiest thing to, especially being a Brit, where like you go to the gym, and you're working out, and Americans have TV screens everywhere. It's like they can't, just amuse themselves when they're on the treadmills or listen to music. They've got to have TV, silent TV. But they've got the news on, so you've got politicians' faces up there. Then you go to the dentist, maybe not straight after the gym, but you go to the dentist maybe the next day. And guess what they've got in the waiting room? They've got TV and they've got the news on, and it's politics.
Yeah.
You go get your oil changed. Well, they've got a great big TV there, and guess what's on? The news, politics. I'm like, this is like North Korea. Like you can't escape these people's faces anywhere you go. Go in bars, it's there. You go in casinos, it's there. You walk down the street and, on great big screens, it's there. It's literally like being in North Korea. And I've never been to North Korea, but I have been in places like Abu Dhabi. And it's just like that, where you see the same 3 or 4 faces everywhere you go. Creepy as shit, quite honestly.
Yeah, to say the least. And it's like you said, but put it perfectly, getting your entire country riled up behind a couple of old flappy skin bags it's the strangest, most bizarre thing.
Weird. I love the UFC. I like the like friends of mine like Ariel Hawani and Pete Carroll give me grief because my job for years was to expand the reach of the UFC to help create more fans, more interest. I'm like, yeah, that was a job, but what I really like is it to go completely underground again and hardly anyone to know about it. That was better. That was better when you could buy a decent ticket to see a world, light heavyweight championship match, for $60, $70, not the buy-in price being like $300, cheapest ticket. Those were better, when you could go online and have a conversation and people wouldn't say things like, yeah, but Ronda Rousey was a complete fraud. She couldn't fight. Who did she ever beat? Or yeah, GSP. He just couldn't compete with the athletes of today. And you're encountering all these muppets constantly. I'm like, Jesus Christ, my generation should have done a better job at gatekeeping these kids out of here. But yeah, to see a whole generation of young fight fans hero worshipping 80-year-old politicians, I'm like, that ain't cool. I a long time ago now, but I used to be 20, and the people I looked up to were like 20, 22, 25. If you were 30, I thought you were had nothing to offer me, nothing to say that was interesting. Your experiences counted for nothing. the idea of being 20 and hero worshipping people who were like 60 years older than me, like, don't you kids have any dignity? Don't you want to? You realize how uncool you look like.
And it is a strange phenomenon because I know, I wasn't idolizing Bob Dole or fucking Ross Perot or something like that. So
Exactly. Can you imagine what your friends would have said if you did? If you strolled up wearing a Bob Dole t-shirt and a cap? Like you'd never get to hang out with your friends ever again. I mean, you never get laid. You never get laid.
Yeah, it's true. I hadn't thought of it like that. That's pretty strange.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think about that constantly.
Yeah. Where have all the cool kids gone? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move this thing along. Let's. You brought up some fighters there, so this is a perfect transition. Let's move it along to the next portion of today's show, and we're going to transition into what would usually be the fight fandom segment. However, with Ant being our guest, I think we'll do things a bit differently. And the reason for that is because you, sir, are not just a veteran fan of the fight game, but also a longtime employee of it. So we will talk fight fandom, but we got to ask some behind-the-scenes questions, too. Okay, let's kick it off with the softball, though. You kind of touched on this one earlier. You brought up the boxing tapes and the UFC tapes. So that was kind of your initial, entrance into the combat sporting world and fandom.
Yeah.
What about it exactly drew you in? Did you just like to see the guys, pounding each other's faces in? Was it the competition, the physicalness? What?
Oh wow, this is actually kind of a deep one for me. So I've had my girlfriend. She's like, there's a lot of other things you can be into. Why are you into this? And my answer's like, I thought about it. Like, it's not the violence. I know we all get excited when there's, Ilia Topuria, starches someone because it's so dramatic. But if you really think about which fights, and I've been to, I think at one point I worked out I've been to 120 UFC events, including fight nights and stuff like that. I think it's about 120. On top of that, I probably attended like 300 boxing shows. Anything from Lennox Lewis at, Madison Square Garden, Prince Nazim, Ricky Hatton. I worked with Ricky Hatton. I saw like, I think 20 of Ricky's fights from ringside. I've been very lucky. But notice something. So somewhere along the line, I can't remember what specific fight was. Somewhere along the way, I noticed the biggest cheers of the night always happened when one fighter was getting absolutely the crap beaten out of him and then turned it around.
Yeah.
That would always get the biggest cheer. The biggest cheer during a fight. And this got to be unknown people. Now, they would cheer even louder if it was their favorite fighter, and their favorite fighter would be a champion or a world title challenger, a former champion. But they would cheer almost as much when that happened between two guys they'd never heard of, or two girls women they never heard of. And what it is they're cheering for is in combat sports, you get to see courage, you get to see bravery, and we don't get to see that. Different types of courage. I mean, you might know someone who's overcoming an illness. You might know someone who's stoic and carries on in the face of being a cancer diagnosis. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about physical courage. When they're in danger, fighting through pain, you can see physical courage right in front of you. And I wrote an article a long time ago. I think I wrote it for Boxing Monthly, which used to be available on WH Smith, or WH Smith and Boxing Monthly are both gone. But I wrote an article saying, it's hilarious how sports commentators talk about the bravery of someone performing in a penalty shootout in a football game. It's hysterical how, we're supposed to laud the courage and courageousness of a tennis player who defends 3 match points. You don't need brave, you just need concentration and nerve. It ain't courage. In fighting, when Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler were knocking the shit out of each other, that required courage. Because like Chael Sonnen, I'm name dropping like crazy, I know, forgive me. But Chael Sonnen was like, he told me once, he's like, every single second, you think, you know what, I'm okay. I can quit. I'll forgive myself if I quit. I can pull out. And almost every fight, if you really don't talk to them when they've got a fight coming up, because what they tend to do is strip away from their psyche as much as they can the part that gets fearful, the part that is realistic.
Yeah.
You're going to fight someone like Alex Pereira. What you don't think is he knocks everybody out. He's probably going to knock me out. What you think is like, he ain't going to hit me. He ain't going to hit me. He's fought all these bums. He never fought me before. And if he does land one or two, it won't hurt me. I'm tougher. You have to have this like self-delusion. But during the fight, over and over, there's an opportunity, especially in MMA. Like again, Chael said, like in MMA, in boxing, taking a dive is hard. Look at going back a generation, but Mike Tyson fought a guy called Bruce Seldon. Some people called him Bruce Seldon because he never fought very often. but Bruce ducked a punch and pretended it hit and basically fainted. And then when it was obvious the referee was going to wave it on, he started like basically staggering around like he was in Lord of the Dance, pretending he was hurt because he didn't want any more. He was just scared to death, which is a natural human response. But, he was also a world heavyweight champion, allegedly. It was hard. He was never taken seriously again. It's over. Even like Vitaly Klitschko, as great a fighter as he was, he pulled out of a fight he was winning against Chris Bird in the 10th round because the ringside doctor says, like, you've torn your rotator cuff. I can see the tear. You're risking the use of your arm. So Vitaly was like, okay, I'll just get a rematch and I'll fight again when I've got two arms. And he was called Klitschko, and it took the unbelievably bloody fight with Lennox Lewis for him to shape this idea that he was a coward, which is insane. But it's hard to fake pulling out of a fight or quitting in boxing. It's much easier in MMA. It's much. Who really knows if that heel hook was on? Only you do. Who knows if you had to tap from that choke, or if you had 10 seconds more of struggling in you? No one knows. Only you know. So it's like Chael actually said, like, it's so seductive, the idea I could just dive in here with my neck up, pretend he gets choked, and this can all be over in seconds, and no one will be any the wiser. And in MMA, you get to see guys have these questions pop up constantly in their head and go, no, I ain't doing that. No, I'm fighting. No, I'm going to fight. No, I'm going to keep going. And to me, that's why combat sport, like I have zero interest in football, in soccer, cricket, even the Olympics. I mean, I'm somewhat interested in people who can run really, really fast, but nothing comes close to combat sports for me. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it though. It's that triumph, really, of the human will and the perseverance, but it's almost over oneself more than it is the opponent.
Yeah,
exactly.
Talking of fear, obviously, another guy from the area you know fairly well from your time with Michael Bisping got Tom Aspinall, our new heavyweight champion from England, and he always talks about how scared he is before he gets into the cage. Yeah,
he's great that he actually says it, because I did a tweet once where I did an article on this and about how the physiological aspects. I spoke to a really smart guy called Dr. Patrick Tissington from Birmingham University, and he was a consultant for the SAS about how to get the troops SAS ready for the crazy stuff they do. And SAS for Americans is basically like the British Delta Force, but just tougher and better. And he was telling about the physiological effects of being terrified. It was like being scared is a superpower. So it doesn't matter if he was on a school round fight or a fight outside a kebab shop, at 2 a.m., which I had a few back in the day, or going on a first date, or, the cops pulling you over. You probably had that feeling of butterflies in your stomach, yeah? You probably both had those.
Yeah.
Well, what that is, it was explained to me, is your brain is shutting down necessary functions. And your digestive system takes a ton of energy. And what your brain's doing is saying, don't need to digest right now. I need all that energy. I'm going to divert that to the muscles to either run away from this threat or fight it. And it doesn't matter if it's a first date, it'll still happen because it's a high stress situation. Your body only recognizes one high stress: danger. That's what it is. It's danger. It's like, no, I'm just meeting a hot chick from work, for drinks. I don't need my digestive system shut down right now. But, you've heard fighters say, oh, I didn't mean to hit him after the bell. I didn't hear the bell. I'm like, what do you mean? I was in the cheap seats. I heard it. What? How come you didn't hear it? Well, like this guy explained to me, one of the non-essential things when the danger is right in front of you in the form of like a Tom Aspinall or a Michael Bisping or Anderson Silva is it'll shut your hearing off when it recognizes you don't need it. It'll shut your hearing off so you don't get distracted from the danger that's right in front of you. Your muscles swell. You get shivers because the blood is diverted away from your skin to your organs and soaks deep inside your muscles to make your muscles literally stronger. We're all familiar with adrenaline, but there's all these different processes that happen to the body to get you fighters ready for a fight. And like Forrest Griffin once told me, he hated that feeling of the butterflies so much he meditated all day. On the day of the fight with Rampage Jackson when he was challenging for the heavyweight UFC title. I think UFC 84, 86, somewhere around there. And he was so effective at calming himself down. He was walking to the octagon going, okay, body, where's my adrenaline? My heart rate needs to go up. Where's my dump? Where's that adrenaline I ordered? I'm fighting a really scary guy in about 4 minutes. And it took him until Rampage hitting him before that activated. And then, okay, thank God, here comes the edgy nerves, here comes the adrenaline. So it's weird that you say I love that Tom Aspinall has these open conversations while he's still active. Usually you can, Chael will say it, Bisping will say it now, but they're years removed. Whereas when you're fighting, usually fighters just want to pretend they're invincible. And it's really gratifying and ingratiating that Tom doesn't. But I tweeted something like this once, and that imbecile clown, John Kavanagh, was basically saying, how dare you say fighters are afraid? They're doing things that you've never done. And this kind of like, John, you are slicker. Go give cover to your rapist friend.
Yeah. If you don't feel fear, you're basically a sociopath or a psychopath to extreme levels.
Yeah.
To not feel that kind of any emotion.
Well, but it's not a psychopath, so there is a scientific name for it, which I forget.
Sociopath is probably more appropriate.
Yeah, but Chuck Liddell is one of them. Chuck Liddell genuinely doesn't feel fear.
Yeah.
Genuinely doesn't. His heart rate just doesn't go up. And that's why he's the Iceman.
Yeah.
There's about it's more people than you think. It's literally 1% of the population, 1 in 100 of us, don't experience this adrenaline dump. One of them was that lunatic who climbed El Capitan, the vertical face.
Yeah.
He's one of them. They rigged him up.
Alex Honnold.
There you go. Absolute lunatic. Climbed something that's virtually unclimbable, even with ropes, and he did it with no ropes. But his heart rate just doesn't go up because of this. So there's pros and cons, With Chuck Liddell, he didn't get that adrenaline surge. But he also has more energy and can conserve more energy. And is clearer-eyed because he's not afraid. He's like, oh shit. That's why, Chuck was okay with people rushing in with punches because A, he had that counter-punching style and big power, but B, he just wasn't feeling afraid in the way that even other UFC fighters would.
Would that explain perhaps why some fighters don't get going until they get punched?
Yes. You've got to imagine, so there's 600-700 UFC fighters. That means there's at least 6 or 7 of them who just have this weird abnormality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if it takes him getting punched in the face to get going, but it kind of sounds almost like a Marab Dwalishvili sort of a thing, where like we've seen at the Sphere, like they had that stupid fucking sensor in the mouthpiece to test the resting heart rate, and they were saying, his is like record low. Like he seems like that kind of guy that the levels just stay very fucking steady, and so does the cardio.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, like Marab, I think Marab probably is the fittest UFC fighter. So I kind of like Bisping. At one point, Bisping had a resting heart rate, I think, of 37 beats a minute.
That's crazy.
Which, if I went to the hospital or you went to the hospital tonight and we had a 37 heartbeat, like they would admit, there's no questions asked. Like you're staying here overnight. Something's wrong with your heart. But so he was that fit. But Marab's got that too. Just does not get tired.
An athlete you'll know, Sebastian Coe. I think he had a resting heart rate in the high 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, but Seb Coe, championship long distance runner.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't even be as big as Marab, much less as big as Bisping. Imagine, having that same resting heart rate, but Bisping walks around at at the time, walked around like 200, 220 pounds. I mean, he was 230, fat bastard, when he got the call to fight with Rockhold.
Just before we go any further, can I just ask one quick question? And I looked on Topology, and there is an Ant Evans, bought out of Manchester. So I have to ask, is that you?
No.
It's not you.
But I've been asked this multiple times. No.
Okay.
No. I've been tempted to lie, but apparently he's really crap and he keeps losing. So.
Oh shit! All right, well let's stick with some fighter talk, but let's shift over to some stuff with some local guys, guys local to where you're from and your region of the world. Was there ever any guys from that part, of the globe that you felt like deserved more shine than they got?
You mean British like UFC fighters and like that?
Yeah, even outside of the UFC, just British fighters and MMA general that you felt like, were deserving of some recognition throughout their career, and they just kind of fell under the radar.
I mean, there was one from basically Newcastle-on-the-Line is basically right next to Stoke-on-Trent, but people from Newcastle don't say they're from Stoke. It's this weird thing that's gone back hundreds of years. But Ross Poynton, not Ross Pearson, Ross Poynton, who was a contestant of the Ultimate Fighter Season 3, along with Bisping. They had two Brits. They had Bisping, they had Ross, and they just fought each other before going into the Ultimate Fighter. And then they fought each other in a rematch in the Ultimate Fighter. He's a cool footmate in history. When I helped Bisping do his autobiography, which wasn't auto because I helped him. But we were really keen, both of us, to give Ross his due. As all Ross Poynton ever wanted in his adult life was the chance to say he's a UFC fighter. Well, he earned that, and no one can ever take that away from him. I think he's still trying to, but he still promotes fights and stuff like that, Ross. But yeah, I mean, it's really there's a time when I first started in the UFC. We basically had Bisping in terms of British fighters, and then started doing shows regularly. Well, actually, before that, when I actually started in the UFC, I worked for the UFC on a kind of like temporary basis for UFC 38. That's in July 2002. So I guess I would probably say Ian Freeman, who deserves to be remembered way more than he is. Ian was the first British fighter to earn a win in the UFC. He's also technically, in my mind, he has a claim to saying he headlined a UFC. Even though they had Matt Hughes, Carlos Newton rematches at the top of the bill at UFC 38 in London, all the tickets were sold and all the local press was around Ian. And he fought a huge, young super athlete who was a heavyweight, could punch like hell, kick hard, and was a BJJ black belt named Frank Mir. And Frank Mir was annihilating everybody. And You guys know the story of that fight because it's one of the most incredible backstories ever. I mean, it should be a movie, but it's basically forgotten.
No,
Well,
I don't
even
know
if we
that.
do know the story, why don't you go ahead and tell us anyway?
What's that?
Okay, so we're Ian Freeman from Geordie, was from Sunderland. And I'll rattle through it. If you want the full story, and I was so keen to get in this, you want the full story, I did do a little mini documentary about it on Fight Pass, which I think is still on, like a 10, 15-minute documentary. I also wrote it up with a really good interview with Ian when I was bored during the pandemic. And you can get that on my Substack, which I haven't updated in years, but the story's still there. So Ian Freeman, as a kid, teenager, coming home from drinking with his mates on the Saturday, he's getting the last train home, and across the platform he sees a group of thugs kicking the shit out of someone. And he shouts, "Hey, leave him alone," as you do. And the guys turn around and basically like, "We're coming for you." So he, even though the train's coming, like this last train home, he legs it. These thugs chase him. They catch him. And over the course of like probably 20 minutes, like 5, 6 thugs beat him up, like kick the hell out of him. He manages to crawl away eventually, and he's on there's a hedge next to the road, and they're kind of like chasing after him because like he takes a chance that they don't see him jump through this hedge. And he said like he didn't know what was through this hedge. It could have been a drop onto the train track. Could have been a drop onto a dual carriageway, a motorway. It was actually a drop about 10 foot into someone's backyard. And that person heard him knocking on the door, came, passed out. He was in hospital for months. And from then, he never wanted to leave the house again. And his dad finally, after about a year of him not leaving the house, being too terrified to go through the door, goes, "All right, stop. We got to stop this. I'm going to teach you, get your self-confidence back." So his dad used to be an ABA amateur boxer and taught him the box. Ian discovered he had a talent. From there, he did a bit of judo. From there, he saw this stuff in Japan, this Valley Tudo stuff. Mm-hmm. And he started going in there. He never found the guys who beat the hell out of him. He said to this day, like if he was sure it was one of them, he'd attack them on sight, no matter who he was with. It could be outside the police station. He would attack them on sight and not stop. But he channeled that into a passion for combat sports. And he won a couple of fights in the UFC, lost a couple. And then Joe Silver called and said, "Hey, we're doing a fight in England. We want you on it. Will you fight Frank Mir?" And Ian's like, "Shit, I'm gonna lose in front of my family." But the one time my family and friends can come, because his family and friends, they're not the kind of people who could jump on the plane to go to Las Vegas to see him fight, or wherever he fought, or go to Japan where he fought. It was like, shit, they're gonna come see me get annihilated. So he had a contact with Josh Barnett and goes, "Josh, can you teach me to beat this phenom, this Frank Mir?" And Josh was like, "Yes, but you have to agree to do everything I say when I say it." And he did. So, he got cue the Rocky music. He's training with one of the best trainers in the world. It's all going great. He's fitter than ever. He's learning like how to escape these holds. He's like, he's going to stuff the takedowns. If the takedowns do come, he's going to scramble, escape the armbar, escape the heel hooks, and just get up and brawl with me. Gets a phone call. It's his mom. "You got to come home. You got to come home." Says, "What do you mean? I'm training." It's like, "Your dad's dying." And so he goes home, and his dad's in hospital. He's got, days, weeks, maybe a month or two left. And Ian's like, "Dad, I'm pulling out. This is great. I can't focus. I'm pulling out. I'm going to spend every minute I can with you." And his mum takes him aside and goes, "Ian, your dad won't say it. He's going to let you do whatever you want to do. But your dad's so unbelievably proud that you're headlining this show in London, in the Royal Albert Hall, one of the most prestigious venues anywhere in the world, much less Great Britain. He's so proud of it. He doesn't want his last thing on earth to be taking that opportunity from you. Do this. Go and fight, beat this guy, and give your dad the best going away present ever." And Ian went back. He trained his ass off. The fight came. It was just a whirlwind. Like, Frank came at him, kicked him in the head. Ian saw him coming, blocked him, just brawling. Frank did get a takedown. He got a heel hook, and I was right there. It was on. His foot was twisted like 90 degrees backwards. I could just feel like sinew and tissues shredding. And Ian describes it like just being white hot agony. It just like sticking your foot in lava. It was just horrendous. But he's like, not quitting. Going to win for my dad. He gets up because Frank basically. I spoke to Frank as well. He goes like, even though it felt like it was on properly, he wasn't responding like he was in pain. So I let it go to adjust, thinking I was messing it up. Well, he wasn't messing it up. Ian Freeman's just got this unbelievable tolerance for pain and a poker face. So when Frank adjusted, Ian escaped, got up, and started brawling it. And Mia didn't like it. He was away from home for the first time. He'd never had a passport before. He'd never left like Las Vegas or California before. He's 24 years old. He starts feeling sorry for himself, mentally breaks, and Ian gets to the ground and pound. Hallelujah, like amazing, and Ian gets backstage, is like, hand me my phone. I'm going to call my dad. And his sister has to say, Dad died yesterday. And we're all told not to tell you. Your dad died yesterday. Like, just, go from the highest of the high to the lowest of the low in like minutes. Yeah. One of the most unbelievable, tragic, heroic stories in UFC history. But in this sport, if it happened 23 months ago, it never happened. Happened 23 weeks ago, it never happened, much less 23 years ago. But that's the kind of thing. Like, those are the kind of stories I love telling.
I will say one thing for him. If he's from Sunderland, you just called him a Geordie. He won't take that well at all.
I said that when I thought that when I said that. But I've been out of England for too long. I forgot that. But I think he does live in Newcastle now, and has done now for like 20 years. But he was from Sunderland at the time.
I'm glad that you told that story, though. I'm glad. I have heard it before. I'm glad you retold it. It's a great story to hear. And Ian Freeman deserves all the credit. And I'm glad, actually, his name's been popping up recently again in the news cycle because of his daughter, Kennedy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, she's going to be making her UFC debut coming up soon against Unessi Dubin.
Yeah. I hope it does. I hope his dad does. People do start looking into how great his. Well, maybe not great, but he wasn't a great fighter. But he made the absolute most of everything he had. And, he's definitely got a great backstory. And, it's someone who has dedicated his life to growing this sport. And, I tried to put that fight in the Hall of Fame a couple of times, but Dana didn't quite see it. But maybe one day.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. All right. Well, for the sake of time, we'll go ahead and move it along. But the background Q&A stuff is good and all, guys, but our viewers usually come here for fight talk. So what do you think about giving a couple of predictions? What do you say, Ian?
Sure. I wouldn't bet your life on any of my picks, but sure.
Neither would I. I wouldn't bet them on mine either, or DangerMouse's. Okay, well, let's start here then. Coming up August 16th, the world leader in combat sports makes its long-awaited return to Chicago for
PFL?
UFC. What's that?
The PFL are going to Chicago?
Oh, I missed your co-leader joke there. Yeah, I got you. Now I got you.
The co-leaders are going to Co-Chicago? I didn't read that on Dana the coach's Twitter. That's news to me.
Well, DangerMouse is our resident PFL expert, so he should have stopped me there if that was the case.
I'm only an expert as far as Dakota's concerned. She's my only interest in the PFL, which I will ask.
Well, you're probably younger than me. I look at Dakota and I just feel like a lecherous uncle. I'm like, no, I'm 48. Like, I can't be looking at this girl with a stomach out. Like, like, cover up, love. You're too young. She's a grown-ass woman, like 25, bro. I'm just looking old.
Greasy, dirty old man over there.
I admire her for her fighting ability. Obviously, she's a very pretty girl, but it's her fighting fighting spirit, fighting stamina. You must, and again, another girl from Manchester. So
we are not once again turning this into the Dakota Ditch of a compliment hour. So we're gonna. Anyway, back on topic. UFC 319 in Chicago. The matchup that most are calling the fight of the summer. You got middleweight gold hanging in the balance. 2020's boogeyman Khamzat Chimaev finally gets his shot, and it'll come against the reigning king, the modern-day Keith Jardine, better known as Dricus Stillknox du Plessis. So, Ant, it's a classic unstoppable force versus an immovable object matchup. Two ends of the spectrum as well. Kind of, you got one guy who's usually criminally underrated, and the other who may be overrated. We don't really know yet, but when the cage door locks in the Windy City, who walks out of the main event victorious?
Oh, it's the fight I'm looking forward to on the docket the most. I think we will all get, I think in the first 20 seconds we'll all have a much clearer idea. It won't take a round for us to know how this is going, or much less 2 rounds. It's just so hard to imagine it, because you can't predict Dricus, his opponents, who are, much better observers of mixed martial arts fights than we are. They can't predict him, even when they've spent a couple of rounds in there with him. It's just so hard. But and then Khamzat, he keeps buzzsawing through people. I'm gonna go with Dricus. Because he's beaten better people. He's been more active. And Khamzat, he's fought once a year for the last few years. He's had serious bouts, of COVID-related illnesses. His immuno system has really taken a hammering. But those are real things. Those are real things. And at a certain level, Dricus is so much physically stronger. I know you were supposed to have 30 years of saying physical strength doesn't matter. Dricus du Plessis' physical strength makes a massive difference in there. And I think that reality will kind of start swamping the edges of Khamzat's confidence at a certain point. Now, Khamzat could buzzsaw. He could get him in choke. And then you got Dricus going, God damn, how did I get... Only once out of 100 fights will I get caught with something that stupid. That could happen. But I can just see Dricus dragging him into deep water. And the third, fourth round, Khamzat starting to feel a little bit sorry for himself. I got to say, I wasn't impressed with Khamzat at all. A couple of fights ago. I mean, that's where I'm gonna go with Dricus. I'm gonna go with DDP.
Yeah, that's my lean too. I mean, I think that there's maybe a round and a half of real danger for DDP, and then from there, we know Khamzat's kind of going to tail off, and that gas is going to start to run out. And I think DDP, being the more proven commodity against tougher opposition, it seems kind of obvious. But DangerMouse, what do you think? You think DDP, or you got Khamzat?
I'm not 100% sure. I did hear Khabib talking about it. He was saying that Khamzat should start off striking, not go for the grappling straight away, because the potential of going into championship rounds where he's never been to before.
He said that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Basically save something in case you can't get him out of there.
Yeah. Don't blast away all that energy at the start of the fight.
Right.
She's going to do anyway.
Yeah. I think so, because I also think that might be, who am I to say, hey, Khabib, that's a good idea, but let me tell you what I think. But I don't know. I mean, I think when I do think of Khamzat winning, I think of him getting a front choke in the first round.
Yeah.
That's where I see him. That's why I see him winning. I gotta say, maybe I'm, maybe we haven't seen this yet. Maybe he's got it in him and then some, but we haven't seen Khamzat be uncomfortable and then roar back. I don't think we don't know that he doesn't have that in him, but we certainly don't know that he has it in him.
Maybe a little bit in the Burns fight.
I would disagree. I think he kind of, I saw him feeling sorry for himself a few times. He didn't relish the back and forth.
No,
What he relishes is just annihilating people. And you don't annihilate everyone in the UFC, not for long.
No.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that, DDP, like I said in the little spiel to introduce this fight, the guy's criminally underrated. Like, nobody gives him credit. Everyone says he's awkward and he's funky and he's weird and doesn't do things the correct way, which is all true, but he's effective. At the end of the day, he's effective.
Yeah, people said that about Bisping. Like Rashad Evans, after he fought Bisping, like I was friends with Rashad, friends with Bisping at the time. I was talking to Rashad over breakfast the next day, and he said, and that was only a 3-round fight. It was still back in the even main events back then were only 3 rounds if they were non-title. And he said he sat there after the second round before the final round, looking at Bisping. Bisping was just breathing. And Rashad's team, or Greg Jackson, yelling like, "We need a big effort, big effort." And he's like, "I'm beat." And look at that bastard over there. He ain't even breathing heavy. And he was also thinking, how do you look so very bad when I watch you on tape, and then I get in here and I feel like you're so very good. Like, you're more accurate than I think. Your jerky movements that look Rashad's word, not mine. You look unathletic. Bisping looked unathletic and awkward, and like gets in there going, but he's hitting me easily, and I can't hit him easily. What is going on? I think that it'd be interesting to talk to previous DDP opponents, especially ones who will never get a rematch with him, and ask them what they think there. I bet you're going to hear the same kind of thing, like, I thought he was socked. And I got it and go, oh my God. I think that's happening with DDP.
Yeah.
Wasn't that kind of the same thing with Strickland, really, wasn't it? A lot of people used to say, all he's got is a jab and a teep. It'll be easy.
Yeah. But it's a great jab and it's a great teep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can win fights. Even at this level, with a great jab, you can win fights. It's still the most important weapon in combat sport, the jab.
We don't see enough of it.
Yeah. Underutilized in MMA.
Yeah. All right, well, next up now, guys, we will stay in the middleweight division, but we'll skip ahead to the month of September. It's September 6th, to be exact, Paris, France, a night lined with potential future contenders, but we're going to stick with the main event. It'll be the French Dagestani sniper, Nassourdine Imavov, squaring up with the lead fighting nerd and all-around free spirit, Caio Borralho. Many people have speculated when we would see Imavov back in action after his win over Israel Adesanya in February. Likewise, the question swirled regarding the lack of activity from Borralho, who by the time of this fight will have been inactive for over a year. Jesus. And Mr. Evans, who takes the victory in this suspected title eliminator between Nassourdine Imavov and Caio Borralho?
Probably going with Caio, but I've got to be honest, it's just, after years of working for the UFC and watching every fight ever, I really do enjoy just only watching the pay-per-views and then occasionally skipping pay-per-views too. So I haven't got that strong opinion on this fight, and I don't want to bullshit you or your audience and go, yeah, well, I think this. Well, to me, it looks like a real close 50-50 fight. But I don't have a big sense and a big feel. I've watched all their fights, but I've only watched their fights once each. When their fights happened, I would have watched them. I haven't rewatched them since. I don't have any penetrating insight nor amazing hot takes here.
It's fine with me, because to be honest with you, when I was planning this thing out and I was scripting this, I was like, man, I'm really struggling to find a fucking fight here worth asking him about, because it's kind of slim pickings in the coming month or two.
The obvious one, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, when that happens.
Yeah, Cyril Gane sucks, dude. Cyril Gane sucks. Yep. Cyril Gane is the male Holly Holm. He just gets a title shot, no matter how badly he performs in them. He just gets a title shot by virtue of being Cyril Gane every 18 months or so. Like, the first fight with Francis was like one of the most anticlimactic fights of all time. I mean, it was terrible. It was. I got in trouble because I called into Ariel Hawani's show and I said, like, it was an insult to my arse to have to sit there and watch that for 25 minutes. Like my backside felt like I'd insulted it by making it sit there. It was terrible. It was, oh, yeah, but Francis showed a new wrinkle to his game. No, what, bad wrestling? Terrible, terrible, terrible wrestling? I'm supposed to be impressed by terrible wrestling now. But guess what? It wasn't nearly terrible enough because it did Garn in. You know? Then Garn did absolutely nothing against John Jones. Like, absolutely nothing. Unless looking like the backing dancer for J-Lo with your shirt off as a qualification. He sucks. He's terrible. He's like Chet Congo, another French guy who looked like an Adonis but fought like a pudding. You know? Like, Tom, unless Tom doesn't train at all and goes out of his way, like maybe if he gets sponsored by like Dunkin' Donuts between now and then, Tom is going to mutilate this guy. I mean, it's not even fight. I mean, what an indictment, though, on the UFC heavyweight division that they allowed it to get so derelict that repackaging Cyril Gane, who hasn't won a fight since. Because we all know what happened last time.
Yeah,
but he lost. It was clear he lost. It was clear as day he lost. You know, it wasn't like, well, it's open to an opinion. It was no. He lost. Lost badly.
Okay. Here's a question on this Tom versus Cyril fight. If Tom fails to finish Cyril faster than John did, do we get a John Jones series of tweets ranting and raving?
Oh, you're going to get that anyway. You're going to get that anyway. You know, that's John. John is a professional tweeter these days.
Yeah, pretty much. Are you as happy as Luke Thomas to see the back of John Jones? Although he's come back again, of course. But
I had my ups and downs working with John. I actually was a real prick to John Jones when we first met. It was my fault. We started off on a really bad note. It was completely my fault, not him. I apologized. You know, the last couple of interactions were much better. I mean, I know he's a bit of a bad guy. Well, but I remember my friend Gareth Davis, who's a writer for the Daily Telegraph in England. He asked John one of the best questions I think anyone's ever asked John, and he's like, "John, are you a good guy who can't help being bad, or are you a bad guy who's trying to be good?" And John went, ooh.
Deep inside yourself, are you a good guy trying to be bad, or are you a bad guy trying to be good?
That's a good question. I think I am a bad guy that's trying to be good.
Because John knows he's got, you know, but like I've seen John be unbelievably gracious when the cameras are off. You know, to me, it's fascinating. You know, to me, people who have that much talent and that much genius in a certain thing, like he has. Like friends of mine, like, you know, again, Ariel thinks GSP pound for pound. You know, one, I don't believe John took steroids knowingly. I just don't believe it. Don't believe it. He took all sort. You know, what about all the times he took drugs that hurt him? Does he get extra credit for those wins when he's out partying until 5 a.m. the night before fights? You know, come on. But he, far and away the best mind for mixed martial arts ever, and I think we're never going to see anyone quite as good as this guy. I don't think he really appreciates. Maybe he does now, since he did that retirement, just how badly he's damaged his legacy and his standing in MMA. And that's why I think you've seen that, White House fight, I'll fight Tom Aspinall then. You know, I think we will see that Aspinall-John Jones fight next year, is my feeling.
Oh, wow.
That's his take.
I think that's my feeling.
Mm-hmm. Well, surely not at the White House, though.
I mean, wouldn't it be great to see a Briton flatten an American on the White House on the 4th of July? Like my American friends would like avoid me for a month after that. Ant's calling, I know what this is about.
I'll have to send you the link to the short I did for the show a couple of weeks ago on the John Jones thing. Yeah, I just can't see the Americans wanting that.
Yeah,
Do you think that Dana White's kind of checked out on the MMA at the moment?
to an extent, yeah. I mean, it's been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah, of course.
Been doing this for 25 years. I mean, think of how many people you know in real life who've done different jobs. Like the number of different jobs I've done in 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's done the same job for 25 years. You know, of course he is. Of course he is. Well, I will say he's still as passionate about anything you can be after a quarter of a century of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah. I mean, he was. There were times even when people didn't think he was checked out. That those of us who were working at the UFC, it's hard to get Dane's attention these days.
Yeah.
You know, there were little occasions like that. You know, and there was a time where Dana would want. I mean, look, Dana's DNA is all the way through the UFC. Like people don't understand just how, I won't say micromanaged, but he had a feel for this that I think was unmatched in promotional history, of knowing exactly what this was and wasn't, how it should or shouldn't be promoted, how the light should look, how the ring walk should look, the types of music that should be played. You know, Dana White, when Michael Bisping got knocked out at UFC 100, his comeback fight, UFC 105, he didn't want to come out to Song 2 by Blur. Quote, he said, "I got knocked out to that track. I'm not walking out to that again." Dana goes, "No, yes you are. That's a big part of the Bisping experience. You're keeping that music." Like, what? So you're keeping that music? That's how involved. Like Dana had very strong and correct opinions about Michael Bisping's walkout. And I don't know that he's doing that these days. You know, but yeah. There's definitely an extent to that. You know, but there's always been. No one man can do all of that and have attention on everything. I can't remember the fight I was walking, but my job was to bring people to the post-fight press conference, and I don't know if it's because I think I understand fighters better than most non-fighters do. Who's certainly ones that worked at the UFC. I was good at getting people to attend the press conference. I mean, I got. After Anderson Silva behaved like a buffoon in the Damian Maia fight at UFC 110 or 112, whatever it was, in Abu Dhabi, I got him to the press conference. Oh shit, Anderson's here. How did he come? Why is he here? It's like, well, because Ant talked him into it. But I would walk people to the podium. I could see Dana's eyes growing wide, going, "Who's this guy?" So I'd always slip him a piece of paper with the name of who it is, because at the time we had 300 fighters. Some of them Dana would never have met and never seen fight before, but he needed to know who he was, and he just beat this is Paul Taylor. He just beat Paul Kelly in the first fight of the night. Because Dana was busy backstage when that was happening. You do that. So I mean, I don't, when people say like Dana's checked out, I mean, I don't think they're saying anything particularly profound. Mm-hmm. But I also don't think they're giving the guy his due for how checked in he's been and how long he's been checked in for either.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Dana White's reaction to John Jones at the White House, because he's pretty much stamped that one out, hasn't he, himself?
Yeah, and it's probably right. It's probably right. It's like, I mean, you roll the dice when you have John Jones headline you, especially recently.
Mm-hmm.
You do,
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't. I think you would. I mean, aren't you rolling the dice if you have Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor who pulled out with a twisted toe just a year ago.
Yeah.
Take some ibuprofen, you'll be fine, right? Isn't that what he told RDA?
He's already taken something stronger than ibuprofen.
All right. Well, we've gone a little bit over an hour now, so I don't want to take too much more of your time. But you got time for one more?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, a quick one, real quick, just to slide in here. This is actually a question from one of our viewers, DJ Serendi. Now, shout out.
Oh.
He wanted to hear a little bit about the time that you knocked out Eddie Hall.
I didn't
How
knock
far
him
you want
out.
to take this is up to you.
I didn't knock him out. I did hit him. I rocked him. I did hit him, and he had it coming. so this is so where this comes from is one, it's a true story, which I'll get into. But Luke, my buddy Luke Thomas, and I've worked with him on his YouTube channel. He's big into powerlifting and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just to troll him, I'm like, all those powerlifter guys are all pussies, don't they? He's like, what? I was like, it's all fake. It's all fake. It's like strongman at the circus. All those weights around. Just to annoy him, just to annoy him. And because I like annoying Luke. You can press his buttons very easily, and he's very, very easy to troll. I've long since given up trolling Arrow Hawani live on air. He doesn't react anymore, but I used to be able to get him, but I can get Luke up all the time. So we're talking, he's talking about Eddie Hall. And I'm like, well, if Eddie Hall is the strongest man in the world, but that means I'm the strongest man in the world because I beat him. He says, what are you beating him? I was like, I beat him in a fist fight. Said, what are you talking about? And Eddie Hall was going to fight the Mountain. That was it. And I said, bet your life on the Mountain winning because Eddie Hall's got no chin. I know for a fact. I cracked him with a left hook, and he did, he did the Macarena across the road with his jelly legs. And look at me talking like a tough guy. I've had like one fight in like 20 years.
Hey, you're on town hall.
Literally one fight in 20 years. I'm talking like it was Armageddon. But anyway, you asked. So Eddie was about 18, 19. I'd be about like 29, 31, something like that. Old enough to know better. But he comes from the same town as me, Newcastle under Lyme. And I used to know around the gyms and stuff. He wasn't like 350 pounds of muscle. He was a big-ish guy who obviously lifted weights, but he was nothing like what he is now. Nothing, But I'm kind of big. I'm like 6'3", 6'4", and about 18 stone and in decent shape. And I was in really good shape back then because. I was hanging out with people like Bisping and stuff like that, and you don't be the guy with moves that they pick on. So, so I'm in the. Eddie was the bouncer of a pub called the Old Brown Jug, and they had a late license, and it was a really cool place. Good place to go try and pick up girls. And a fight broke out one night. Nothing to do with me, nothing at all. And I've got my pint of beer, and I'm cradling it because I don't want it like spill on my nice shirt, my one expensive shirt I had at the time. I still miss that shirt. How bar fights, they just kind of like two people start, and then it's like this madness catches fire, and other people just join in. And I can see this chain reaction coming towards me about the fight. I'm like, fuck this, I'm out of here. So I turn, right? And I'm scarpering, and I'm heading towards like the next room away from the fight. And all of a sudden from behind, like my neck gets like pulled back. The beer I'm cradling gets like it's like 2/3 of a pint goes all over me, down my shirt, down my pants. Looks like I'm secreting milk from my nipples and pissing myself. I just like a mess. So I'm fucking furious. So someone's got me in a headlock. I'm like, as soon as I can't do much about it, it's like a strong guy. And I'm getting marched to the door. I was like, oh, someone wants to go. Okay. As soon as I get out of this, I'm going to whack them on. So I did. And Eddie Hall clearly thought that I was scarpering because I'd started the fight or had something to do with it. Oh, there's a big guy. I'll go get him. Well, he let go, so I showed him the right hand, and instead I cracked him with the left hook, and he did a little dance. And that's the whole story. It was like 2 seconds, but I have been eating out on this story, telling this story for years. Yeah. And I'm not going to stop now, okay? Today is not the day. I'm going to decline to tell this story. This is my one fighting story I've got. So I'm telling it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We do have another question from March of 34, which is, how did working for the UFC production compare to other outlets?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't work for production. Obviously, with the production, but Yeah, UFC productions, I would say second only to like maybe the WWE production.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of cross-pollination. It's the best in the world by a long, long way. It's an incredible experience working with them and how professional they are, how creative they are. And especially in the early days, like 2006, 2007, 2000, even up to like maybe 2011, there was this real sense working at the UFC. It was a much smaller team, maybe 80 people, 100 people, maybe. And then in the UK, it was like 5-6 others. There was this real kind of siege mentality that I loved, and it was went like this: like, we're right that this is the greatest sport in the world. And everybody else is wrong, and we're going to show them just how wrong they are, because this is better than football, this is better than boxing, it's better than professional wrestling, it's better than all of it. And we're right, and we're better, and we're going to outwork you, and we're going to prove you all wrong. And you're going to sit there and take it while we prove it. And there's this real mentality about it. It was a really, amazing group of people. Most of them are gone now. I think only a couple of OGs left, and maybe less than a couple actually. But yeah, it was a great experience. I got to see the world. I really did get to see the world with the UFC. Name a major city in America. I've been there at least once. Got to go to Australia. Got to go to Abu Dhabi. Got to go all over Canada. Got to go to Birmingham for UFC 89.
You were fortunate. You were there when they actually traveled.
Yes. But it was a grand experience.
Do you have a favorite UFC story from your time while you were traveling with them, maybe?
Oh, shit. How much trouble should we try and get in?
As much as you like. Whatever brings us the most views.
So you're the YouTube expert.
Okay, there's a whole bunch. I mean, just going out drinking with Michael Bisping. Like, me and Bisping became pretty quick friends. I remember I had to take him to a live appearance on Setanta Sports or Sky Sports, and he's getting the train back to Clitheroe, and we missed it. We missed it because we went for a steak. We sure as hell were gonna, we sure as hell was gonna expense a nice steak. So we went to the most expensive steak place we could find, and we looped. And we missed his train, so I called my boss, Marshall. I was like, "Hey, Bisping, we missed the train. I'm going to get him a hotel." Anyway, we got him a nice hotel. You treat him like a star, and we just went out drinking on the company card. And we just drank all night. Like, Bisping used to be like, he barely drinks now, and neither do I. He's too old. It gets a little pathetic that as you move through your 40s. But it wasn't pathetic back then. It was quite fantastic. And, when Bisping knew all these bar people in this bar, it was amazing. And he just wouldn't, I was done. I could hold a beer or two, 2 a.m. I was still okay for a bit, but 3 a.m. I was fading, 4 a.m. I was done. 5 a.m. I was begging, can we please go home? Can we please go back to the hotel? 6 a.m. Hey, how about we go to breakfast? And we finally get kicked out of this club at like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. And we stagger out into the daylight, like newborn calves, like barely able to open our eyes. And all night, Bisping goes, "The night ain't over yet, Ant." And he turns to me, looks at me, I'm like, he's going to say it. Don't say it. He goes, "The night ain't over yet, Ant." And I'm like, "Michael, see these people walking past us wearing suits? They're not going to a nightclub. They're going to work. The night is, in fact, over. It's almost 8 a.m. The night is done. The night has come and gone." And it was great, but it is fucking time to call it, So that was awesome. I mean, we used to... got fond memories of taking the corporate credit card into strip clubs, with fighters. That was a lot of fun, as embarrassing as it is now when, I kind of mentioned this to my girlfriend. It's really strippers. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't my money. I'm helping these girls through college. What else can I do?
The charitable act.
Uncle Lorenzo paid. I didn't pay for anything. I mean, there was one fight, and he wouldn't thank me for using his name now, but he's managed to. So we went in this one strip club in Vegas, and they brought out this chest, like a pirate's chest, and they open up and they had these like nuggets of gold, which were like your coins for, I think I did like $10,000 worth of strips. And they had this pirate chest, so I was in charge of the pirate chest. But anyway, I went to the bathroom, wink, wink. I certainly didn't have a lap dance. I came back and like the pirate chest is gone.
Oh shit!
The pirate chest is gone with like 10 grand. I'm like, oh shit, we'll have to get another. So the fighter in question, his name is Rampage Jackson. I'll tell you, he reappears like 90 minutes later. I'm like, where have you been? Like, what happened? He goes, oh yeah, you left that chest. You left. I just took it. I just requisitioned it. He goes, I had 10 of them. I had 10 strippers. Took them in a private room. And I was like, well, how much did you spend? He goes, well, how much was in the chest? I'm like, I don't know, about like 9 grand. And he goes, yeah, the funny thing is I was bored after 10 minutes. I just started talking to him about what cars I've got. So yeah, it was way less professional, as you can tell. It was more rock and roll, It was definitely like some excess. I didn't pull that type of stuff. I did like, I thought I was going to get in trouble because I'd spent 20 grand in a strip joint. And I didn't. Like no one. The only person who mentioned it was Dana. Goes, hey, did you have some fun with the fighters the other week? I was like, yeah, Dana. I was about to apologize. He goes, oh, cool. And that was it. Yeah, because I was about to apologize, spending 20 G's of his money.
That's a gig right there, man.
Yeah, that was fun. That's when it was fun, and like then when the WA, it got more and more corporate and less and less. I mean, like back in the day, you'll see the culture there is that someone give you shit at work, you could challenge them to a fight in the basement in Dana's gym.
Oh wow!
And yeah, that happened. And there was a guy who was the head of, I think he was the head of marketing or something. His name's Chris. It's Chris Blushmit. And he was teasing a guy called Edward Muncie.
Oh, God.
Both of these are long since gone. Yeah, teasing him for like a year. But finally, Muncie, who was kind of very much like a Ned Flanders type of character, right? Very much like, but...
Hi, diddly-ho.
Yeah. But Blushmit chickened out. Chickened out, and he didn't know it, but his days were numbered because Dana White lost all respect. It wasn't the fact that he didn't want to fight. It was the fact that he talked shit for so long about it and then backed out. But yeah, that was a real thing until finally we had a real HR person who was like, we're putting a stop to this. You can't fight each other in the basement after work. Yeah,
I was just going to ask. I think most people would ask you what your worst Dana White story was, but I was just going to ask you what your best Dana White story was. But you might just have given it, fighting in the basement.
Well, Dana gets a lot of it. Like something he probably wouldn't appreciate me saying. Like the stuff he does for fighters, basically keeps it hidden. Okay, So I mean, I guess I could say this now, but maybe I can't. Let's find out. But Chael Sonnen. Had a great offer from Bellator. Great offer to go to, or I call it Bellatard. And he actually, I think what happened is they thought he was out of contract. He wasn't. He had another fight left, or he was retired, and they thought he was done. And they gave a really good, great offer, more money than I think he'd been paid before. And Chael came to see Dana and was like, hey, they're offering me this much money. I'm never going to fight for a UFC title again. I'm probably not going to headline, but they're offering me all this money. And Dana goes, okay, we're going to dissolve your contract. Go take it. But do me a favor. Just tell everybody you would never breathe a word that we let you out of your contract because it doesn't look good for me. I've got to be a hard ass. I've got to be the guy who says no to fighters. I've got to be, And he did stuff like that all the time. And when I first moved to America, it was like a few days before Christmas Eve, and I was like, had a meeting with him. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing for Christmas?" And he goes, "You you got anyone to be with? And I could say, shit, he's going to ask me, Dana's going to ask me, like, come hang out on Christmas Day, really? And I'm like, no, actually, I am flying home tomorrow night, and I'll be back 3 days later. You know, like, got plenty of good stories about Dana, you know. I don't like all the stuff he's doing now with the right-wing politics. I hate it. You know, there's no way I could possibly have worked for the modern UFC, which is basically, you know, a extension of the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. There's no way I could have stomached that. But, you know, you get older and you just kind of remember the good things. And you care less and less about, you know, bullshit you encountered. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah.
I'd say it does. And I think that's a, you know, overall, that's a net positive because, you know, for as long as you spent with that company and with those people, it's good that you walked away with an overall positive outlook on the time that you did spend there.
I mean, how could you not, you know? I mean, I did another interview about a week ago where I just like eviscerated the guy who took my job, but that's just him. I don't blame anyone. It's just him. I had the opportunity to get a little revenge, and I took it. Not beyond being a little bit petty, but you know, overall, like, why would I be mad that I got paid, you know, decent money to fly around, hang out with some of the coolest people on earth, have fun, see some of the greatest fights of all time? Why? I do know friends of mine who've left, who are so bitter against the UFC, will never watch it and just wish for celebrate when fights fall down and stuff. Why? I mean, I put out a tweet which weirdly went viral, which none of my tweets ever do, where I was like, oh God, the UFC's kind of washed right now, which I think it is. I want the UFC to do well. Because I'm just a fan now, basically. Yeah. I might be a fan who's got a lot of insider knowledge, but I'm just a fan. And when I get a UFC pay-per-view on the TV, I want to be entertained just like any other fan does. And I think a lot of what's been served up this last couple of years has been shite, or been mid, as the kids say. I want them to do better. I know they can do better. I know, you know. But they're doing this TKO, pumping out content. The same thing's happening with WWE, the sister company. They're just pumping out content, and there's less and less thought to it, whether this is good content or whether they should taper back the content and do more, do more with less, rather than just constantly just more is more is more, and what's better than more is even more. But yeah, I'm just a fan now, and I want to see the company do better than it's currently doing. But no, like we said, like there's some big fights coming up, a lot of big fights for the rest of the year. I think we're finally put to bed this idea of Conor McGregor ever fighting again, which who wants that little sex pest around? Anyway.
We only got room for one sex pest, and that's Brian Campbell, baby. Come on, BC.
Brian Campbell? So you telling me something? What's Brian Campbell, though?
Oh, he's been known to be a bit of a sex pest in his time, in one way or another. I don't want to put him on blast too much, but we're getting off track. Speaking of
someone
content,
as tremendously as ugly as Brian, really.
Oh, I'm so clipping that.
Well, speaking of content, guys, we're running short on time, but somebody that does make some really good content is this guy right here, our very own guest, Ant Evans. Ant, if you'd like to take a moment before we get out of here, plug any of your work, shout out a new project, or just drop your byline so people know where to find you, whatever you want. But here's your chance to say whatever you'd like in closing to the bleeders, our audience.
All right. I mean, the new project I'm working on, very excited, is partnering with Luke Thomas. And we have a new channel that's got 50,000 subscribers in 5 weeks, and we've just had our first 100,000 view video. We're already making money, which is, screw the vanity metrics. I'm doing it to make money. It's called Luke Thomas Gets Political. If you have any interest in politics, the way world affairs, the way the world's going, I think Luke has got one of the best brains and voices in here. I mean, some people are already describing him as the Joe Rogan of the left, but he's nothing like Joe Rogan. One of our most popular videos so far is Luke taking down Rogan and basically all the damage Rogan has done to the political system here in America. So yeah, it's called Luke Thomas Gets Political. If that's your cup of tea, give us a shout there.
Right on, right on. Well, and if you guys are looking for him, he is online. You can find him across various platforms, but I believe on X, you're Ant Evans MMA.
That's right, yeah.
Well, fucking hey, guys. We're just about ready to wrap up. So one more time before we get out of here, I'd like to thank our guest, Ant Evans, for coming on. It was awesome having you and getting to know you a bit better, and I'm sure the viewers all enjoyed it as well. If you did, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you have an idea for someone you'd like to see on the show, just drop us a line below in the comments. Until next time, this has been Just Banter, really. He's been DangerMouse. I've been LazyBed, and we're out of here. Peace.
Cheers, Ant. Thank you very much. Great fun.
Hey guys, how did that go? Are you okay?
Yeah, that was
awesome, bro. That was awesome.
Yeah, brilliant, man.
I didn't know if I could swear or not, so I tried to not, and then at a certain point I just gave up trying not to.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We don't really bother with.
It's an odd thing. It's like competition's good for the fighters, but try and get an MMA fighter to stand up for themselves. I mean, the toughest guys in the world in the cage, but most of them are absolute simps when it comes to being outside the cage. Won't stick up for themselves in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, editing's hard work. I try not to.
Just tell me about it.
Yeah, it's time-consuming work. Yeah, what are we talking about, boys?
It could be worse.
At least you still got your looks.